aren't good enough, or the standard English players ain't good enough?
Well, I think like at cobblers level and sort of lower levels in football, standards got better. I think players are a lot more technical than they were 10, 15 years ago. I've definitely noticed that myself. But obviously, there's still a massive room for improvement, especially top level English players, and probably has got to come down to facilities and coaching. I'm a big one on grassroots level. Kids play on full size pitches, I think from the age of 11 or 12, with full size goals, and it just doesn't seem right because they're tiny, and that puts too much emphasis on players being stronger or faster or just kicking the ball miles up the pitch and things like that. So I'd rather see smaller sided games on smaller pitches and that. So I think there's kind of a mentality element to it as well, but the more the better for coaching and facilities in terms of putting money into it, definitely.
Okay, and you spoke about the upper leagues and the lower leagues. Do you think there's more emphasis to inject the money into lower leagues rather than I don't know, say the teams in the Premier League or Champions?
Well, I think because they kind of fund themselves, don't they? I mean, you took like Man City's training ground they built recently for millions and millions of pounds, so they can kind of look after themselves a bit, really. Whereas teams at Northampton's level, and even really below that, sort of local non-league sides, don't have training facilities. Kids teams will play on AstroTurf, but it's kind of like borrowed stuff here and there. Northampton's youth team, I think they train on AstroTurf at Molton. So there's some facilities there. It's just, is there really enough? And what's the standard of coaching like? Are players being brought up to be players that are technical, that like to pass the ball and get on the ball, or is there more of an emphasis on being stronger and things like that, and more of an English culture to it? So there's quite a lot of different elements at play.
Okay, so would you agree then that someone like the FA and their grassroots scheme they should invest in? Because Northampton, that's not one of the hubs. Northampton are one of the hubs to get the new 3G and 4G pitches being built. So do you think that they should maybe look into lower teams?
I mean, I think the thing with football at the minute is there's so much money coming in at the top level. This like latest Sky deal where they're paying £5 billion for TV rights, and there's a feeling that not really a lot of that is filtering down to lower levels. I'd obviously definitely want to see it happen in Northampton because where I live and it's where I'm from, so there's a bit biased there. But I think as a more general rule, if they could implement something where top clubs had to sort of devolve a certain percentage of their funding to grassroots level, I think that would be a definite positive step in the right direction.
What do you prefer, personally? Grass or 4G?
Well, I'm retired as a Sunday League player now, and I only ever play on AstroTurf 5-a-side, and that's better because you don't have to clean your boots. But you can't really beat playing on grass. It's such a, I mean, it's sort of, for tackling and stuff like that, it's softer pitches, so it's a lot better for that element of the game. I think in terms of a true technical game, then AstroTurf would be better. Having spoken to players, Northampton played a pre-season friendly this summer just gone at Alloa, and they played that on the 3G. And so Northampton played a pre-season game at Alloa, and that was 11v11 on AstroTurf. And a lot of the players afterwards were complaining that, while your touch is great and stuff, it puts quite a strain on ankles and knees because it's a harder surface and it's not what they're used to. So I think, professional players don't really like it, but I think sort of for, very, very amateur players like myself, then it's got a place.
Okay, so to sum it up, where do you think the problem lies? Would you say the standard, the coaching, or facilities?
Probably a bit of everything, really, yeah. And I think the standard would only improve if you get better facilities, which they are getting now. I mean, a lot of teams train on AstroTurf and have good training facilities. I think it's perhaps the coaching then, really, once we boiled it down. And I think to address that, they need to get more people to become qualified coaches. I think that Britain or England is one of the lowest in Europe for qualified coaches compared to sort of Spain and Germany and places like that. So they definitely need to put more money into that, and really that should come from the funding at the top level, if you ask me.